I have no idea what day version we're on. But what we're doing today, Math 321, is we are looking at order of operations. And we use the acronym TEMDIS. Now, you might have heard this as a way to memorize this was, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Oh, gosh.
But I don't know about you, but I don't have an Aunt Sally. So fuck all that. I do have a sibling though. So we're gonna change a couple of these words. I don't like that version, and that version. I'm gonna go with dumb ass sibling. Sibling is brother or sister, if you don't know what that word is. Many of us have a brother or sister. If you're an only child, I don't know what to tell you. P stands for parentheses. This is the order we're gonna do stuff in. P is parentheses and other grouping terms. E is for exponents. M is for multiply and D is for divide. And these two are directly related to each other, like dividing is just multiplying by the reciprocal. So these are on the same priority, go left to right. And A is for addition and S is for subtraction. Subtracting is just adding the opposite sign, so these are both under. Kind of like adding, these are also same priority left to right. If you've got a complicated enough problem, it's worth writing down the initials. And I do MD and AS next to each other when I'm doing it, if I'm crossing them out. Let's make a nice big fun problem. Let's do 5 times 6 divided by 7 plus 8 minus 2 cubed. All right, first thing we want to do are parentheses. Parentheses are this. 7 plus 8 is 15. I'm going to write down everything else. And just change that. Next, we need to do exponents. This is an exponent. So everything else will remain the same. And 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And we're done with exponents, so I'll cross that bad boy off. Now we got multiplication and division. We're gonna go left to right. The first operation is 5 times 6. That's 30. Oh, that should have a 5 there. Or 15 there. And we're not done with the multiplication and division step, so we'll do that. 30 divided by 5 or 15 is 2. Finally, we're finished with that step. And lastly, we do 2 minus 8. And that is -6. And we're all done. Bam. Yes, I do get these stupid things on Facebook from people. Going, what's the right answer to this? People are arguing over it, and it's like it's one of these, it's always one of these. No one ever asks me something that's complicated math. It's something you learn how to do in fucking before junior high. Usually. By junior high, maybe. Let me give you guys one to try. You guys ready for one? Forty divided by 8 times 3 minus parentheses 5 times 2. Let's go with -7 and then we'll square it. Be another 20 seconds. Right. Put my canvas list down. All right, we want to do parentheses first, which means do the actions inside the parentheses. Basically following the rest of the order. So. Stuff like that inside it. There's no exponent inside it. There is multiplication and division. So 5 times 2 is 10. And then 10 minus 7 is 3. We've cleared the grouping symbols. We're on to exponents. The next exponent, or the only exponent we got, is the 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. And I try to make sure I'm writing down everything as I go because it's really easy to forget what the fuck you're doing. Like forget the entire rest of the problem. If you do something that's complicated, you're like, nope, that's it, I'm good. I see it all the time throughout all levels of mathematics. If you're slacking and don't copy shit down, you fuck it up. All right, that was our only exponent. We're done with that. We're now going on to multiplication and division. We do them left to right. It happens in this problem that division is coming first. But that's okay. 40 divided by 8 is 5. And then 5 times 3 is 15. And these start going faster and faster because you're running out of shift right. Finally, with 15 minus 9 is 6. Any questions? All right, next topic is square roots. This kind of falls under the grouping symbols one. You want to do everything inside of it first. But it goes by this symbol. This is called the radical sign. And you'll also see like the standard way is like that. I tend to put this little tail coming down. Like the eave on a roof, because it kind of shows where the square root ends. It's handy when you got to after it and you're like, I don't know if this is supposed to go into the square root or not. If you put a little tail coming down. This is the opposite of squaring, or it undoes squaring. So if we had 3 squared equals 9. We do square root of 9 equals 3. Also, if I squared -3. I'd get 9. So clearly, doing 9 should also give me -3. Square root of 9 should give me -3 as well. The positive one is called the principal square root. And it's pretty much what the one we're gonna use. And we default to it. We tend to like perfect squares. A perfect square has a whole number square root. Like 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. And there's more. It keeps going. Next one is 121. But like the square root of each of these is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Ready for more? I see some pins still moving, hold on a second. Oh, the bug happened. Found it. This perfect square idea is something we can take advantage of if we see it in the radicals. Without needing a calculator. So if you see like one of the numbers that you know, it's basically if you have your multiplication table, you remember it, it's the diagonal. But we can also take advantage of it if we had something like 49/16 all underneath the square root sign. Because square roots can split up when everything's like this and there's a fraction inside of it. We can do the square root on top and the square root on bottom like that. And this ends up being 7/4. Some numbers though, like the square root of 5, we need a calculator for. I'll do it on my calculator in a second, but like the calculator approach, there's generally a couple of ways to do it depending on the calculator. Some of them require you to hit the square root key beforehand, hit 5, and then hit equals. Others will make you do the 5 first, then hit the square root, then do equal. If you don't know which way your calculator works, stick in a number you know the square root of. Do square root of 4 equals 2 to test your calculator. So that you know how your calculator works. Yeah, go show the little over there. I'm getting square root of 5. It's 2.236067977. That is not an exact answer, there's more decimals. Square radical, when you have a radical like this, it's usually, if it doesn't, if the number is filling up your calculator, it's unending. And I can show you it's unending by just subtracting what I see. I'll do minus 2.2360679. Oh. 360679777. And if it's an exact number, that should be 0 if I subtract it. But I have a whole bunch of more stuff left in the calculator. So it's only showing me as many decimal places as it can fit on the screen. Some calculators fit, I've seen like 20. But it's usually, it's not an exact number. We almost have everything we need for standard deviation. Last level, we talked about it before, but it's been a while. We had the big lightning bolt looking E. This is capital sigma. And it stands for summation. Sum is the outcome of addition. So when you see the capital sigma, this means add shit up. if I had something like this, I equals 1 to 5. And I had I here. What this means is to go through and start here. And here. And replace I with those values one at a time. I equals 1. Then I go on and I add the next number is 2. The next number is 3. 4. I get up to 5. 5 was the final number. I stop. I add these up, and this is 15. They can start at different numbers, they can end at different numbers, and they can use different letters. If you see n equals 2 to 4 n squared. What it wants you to do is start at 2 and plug it in for n. And keep adding these up. So, and you go up to the 4, stop there, but this is 4 plus 9 plus 16 is 29. I give you guys a complicated one to try. We'll do k equals 1 to 4. 4 is enough to test the idea. 2k minus 0.25. Maybe we'll square it and divide by 4. Try that out and then we'll do it together in a couple minutes. It's a pain in the ass problem, isn't it? It's a really big pain in the ass problem if you take a difficult approach. Let me show you guys a good approach to go with. I'm gonna make a column of what for K, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I'm gonna do what 2K minus 0.25 is. Make a column that has that answer in it. Two minus 0.25 is 1.75. 4 minus 0.25 is 3.75. 2 times 3 is 6, 6 minus 0.25 is 575. And it looks like this is just going up by 2 each time. Then I need a column that squares this. And this one I'm not doing in my head. .75 squared. Now I can do the 1/4 times this now on each row. I could do or divide by 4 and get an answer here on each row. But you will find that this next step here, when you're doing division, since it's divided by the same thing every time. Add first. Then divide by 4. It actually gives you the same result. So I'm gonna add these up. Under 10.25. And if I divide by 4 now, I'll get the same answer. I mean, you can test it if you like. We add those up, we should get to 27. Was that not fun? Pain in the ass, right? This is how standard deviation is calculated. But there's one more step for standard deviation is the square root. We're gonna do a small problem with easier numbers for standard deviation. And then you'll really appreciate how much work StatCrunch is doing for you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this, I added those up.
So why are we dividing by, well, adding them up and dividing by four?
Because the dividing by four, we've done everything except this step right here.
Oh,
And you can either divide by four first and then add them up. But you'll find this is tedious and gives you big numbers to record.
Yeah.
Or you can add up this and divide by four.
oh, okay.
You guys ready for a standard deviation example? Okay, for standard deviation. The formula is. You do the sum. Of xi minus x bar and you square it. You add that up, you divide by n minus one and you take the square root. So like the first thing you do is xi minus x bar. Then square it. Add those up. Divide by n minus one. And take square root. Bianca, how many siblings do you have?
Six.
Gilda, how many siblings do you have? Alfredo. How many siblings do you have?
Two,
Inma?
two.
And I will throw in one, just because, no. Okay, let's leave the one out. I think this problem's gonna be a little easier without the one. We'll just do 4 people. So these are my xi's. This is like x1, x2, x3, x4. Those represent xi. X bar is the mean. So we will add up 6 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2. And divide by 4, which is my n. There's 4 examples. And we have 14 over 4, which is 3.5. You know, adding in me would have made it 15 over 5, which would have given us exactly 3. Oh well, fuck it. Alright, so. Make a little table with my xi. 6, 4, 2, 2. I need xi minus x bar. So like 6 minus 3.5 is 2.5. 4 minus 3.5 is 0.5. Two minus 3.5 shows up twice. It's negative 1.5 on both of those.
The green section, we did the mean, on the bottom, like the 4. Where does the -1 come into play there?
Later, This is the mean standard, n minus one is in the standard deviation,
Oh, okay.
different formula, great question. Next, we'll do the xi minus x bar squared. So we're just squaring the column before it. And conveniently, when I square negative 1.5, it ends up being positive. And that's why we square it. That's why they square it and then they take the square root. It gets rid of minus signs, basically. So we can just look at how the change is being affected. Any questions so far? What's wrong, Alfredo?
0.4 on next side 4, 0.5 squared is 0.5,
Yep.
0.5 times 0.5.
Yeah, 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. You can do it in the calculator, you'll see. Numbers less than 1, when you square them, get smaller. Numbers bigger than 1, when you square them, get bigger. Does that make sense? Like, when we're squaring it, we're multiplying it by another number. And if another number we're multiplying is by less than 1, it's gotta get smaller. Like if I multiply my income by 2, it gets bigger. I'll multiply my income by 1/2, they get smaller. Any number that's less than 1, when you use it as multiplication, makes the number go down. Everyone good with that so far? We have done the xi minus x bar and then we squared this. So now we're on the add that shit up column. That looks like 11 to me. 6, 2 and 2 is 10, and then 4/4 is another $1.11. Looks like money, I'm doing money in my head here. Now we did that, add that shit up. Now we gotta divide this by n minus 1. N equals 4, because there was 4 entries. So n minus 1 is 3. So what we're gonna have is the square root of 11.00 over 3. So I'll do the 11 divided by 3 in the calculator. And then I'm gonna hit square root of the answer. Nine 1 4 8 5 4 2 1 6. And then we round it however many decimal places we need. We thought that was fun. The fuck are you nodding for me on? You are so full of shit.
I'm trying to have a good mindset.
I approve. That's the right attitude. Or at least enough good bullshit to sell to your teacher. That was only 4 entries. Can you imagine doing this for even 10? 20 is like a full page of fucking numbers. And 20 is not a lot of fucking, like, you want to survey people, 20 is not enough. You want to survey more than 20. So you can see how tedious this is gonna get really fucking quick. Stack Crunch is really easy. Hopefully you love StatCrunch more now. Or at least appreciate StatCrunch more. And we'll go do it in a second, yeah.
The StatCrunch basically lets you change the variables and lets you keep the formula.
It lets us type in just our 4 entries, click a button, bam, done. Let's go do it. Let me, let's hit share, go to the screen. Let's see, StatCrunch is on the left. I will visit the StatCrunch website. And I'll open StatCrunch. And I'll make a little column here that says siblings. We had 6, 4, 2, and 2. We're gonna go to stats, summary stats, and columns. We'll tell it we want siblings. We want the mean. All right, we want a standard deviation. Let's try that again. And we got our 1.91 way quicker. Super quick.
Can you do that process again, please?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So we're gonna go to stats. Summary stats. Columns, and I'll write it down on the paper, the command sequence. We did this in 3.2, but
Yeah,
that was over a week ago since your teacher's a fucking scrub. And then you select the column you want to do or columns. You can actually generally click compute right away and it will give you most things that you want. What we're doing today in 3.5, there's gonna be some other shit. So we'll custom change it. But like even if you just click compute, you can go through and look for what you wanted. We can see our mean here was 3.5. Standard deviation was this. We'll be doing, oh shit, it's got min, max, Q1, Q3. It's got all of them. What is it missing? No, default has all 5. Maybe we don't need to change it. Alright. And we're close to 4. That's a break. We'll call that a wrap. Let me switch over to the paper and write down what I was doing real quick for you guys. We did. In StatCrunch, we did stats. Summary stats. Columns. Select the column you want. And you can click compute right away and it'll be on there. Then I'll hit stop record.